Hey guys, it's Saru, and as is the custom of the TERA life, it's time to do a guide on a dungeon for console that has been out on PC for years, and thus already has a guide by thousands of people. Well, it doesn't get more original than that, does it? So let's get right into it, but this may take a little while, as the mechanics are a bit crazy and may take some time to explain. So hold on to your baby booties, cause you're in for a ride that someone has probably already explained already. So Darken, Darken, you adorable fuck you. Oh, you. If you missed the age of Skycruiser, here you have a moment to experience what you missed. Sort of. Now again, as is in every one of my guides, I will not explain normal mechanics because, well, I haven't before, so might as well not start now. I will only show the mechanics that are important to this dungeon that you should know. I feel as a player, you should probably learn the attacks yourself by actually doing the dungeon itself rather than having me tell you exactly what to block, where to dodge, and do all that stuff. So before you guys continue with this video, if you think you're going to get any attack hints, I am not going to be doing that, so you might as well go to another video or continue watching just to support my channel. Oh god, I need a break. So one of the first mechanics you'll encounter is when he says, "Away with you." What he will do is swipe towards the person with the aggro, which is most likely to be the tank at this point, unless he's dead. Then fly into the air like a beautiful butterfly and do an AoE. Now there is no way to know which of the two AoEs he will do, so just be ready about 7 to 9 meters away from him to do one or the other. Now either he will do the donut version, which means you'll be safe inside, underneath him, and the outside will not be safe, or he will do the circle version, which means the outside is safe and the inside is not. So it really just, it's random. Now this attack cannot be iframe, but Sorks can use Warp Barrier to avoid it, and ninjas can use their Smoke Bomb to avoid it. The next mechanic is the Ring of Fire, which starts almost immediately, similar to the Skycruiser version, where the outside of the arena will be filled with fire. Now if you touch it, you'll get hit for about 50,000 damage or so. However, there will be mana generators around the arena, of two varieties, by the way, I should explain. There's the lesser generator and the greater generators. Not to worry, as the greater generators will not show until his health is below 50%. So, above 50% HP, he will say prepare to suffer, and one person will have the purple aggro ring underneath them. Now, what that person needs to do is go out of their way to stop everything they're doing. Go to one of the pylons, wait until the orange ring appears, and then iframe out. This will make the pylon explode. However, under 50% he will say, if you stand together, you can die together. Which is basically the same mechanic, except now 4 people will have to go to a pylon to destroy it. All 5 players will get the whole orange ring underneath them, so all 5 can go to a pylon, or just 4. I say 4 because it takes 4 to blow one up, so yeah. Also, if you don't iframe out right before it explodes, you will die, so. Now the reason why this is important is because he will do a massive AoE on the area, usually after he does his roar. What he will do is basically glow purple, stab his swords on the ground, and then roar like a big old dinosaur. Now right before he roars, you'll want to ideally iframe out of it. If you do not, it will inflict damage, a bleed debuff, and as well a silence debuff, which means you'll be hurting and you can't even do anything about it. Now you can technically use a cleansing brooch if you really wanted to, but ideally you just want to iframe out of it. So if you're a healer, you want to iframe and then cleanse your group members that don't have it, because it's always going to happen most likely. Now one thing to note is that the silence from his roar can be blocked as well, but you still will get hurt, so it's better just to iframe. Now after the mechanic of the roar, he will create an AoE that I mentioned above, and it will one-shot everyone. Now there are 2 ways around this mechanic. The first one is by destroying the pylon or pylons that I mentioned before, and that'll create an opening to a safe zone for when he does this mechanic specifically. Now you'll want to go to the safe zone. When he does this AoE, you'll be alive. Thank the gods, because I don't want to talk about it. However, assuming that you guys fail to destroy a pylon, there is a trick to stay alive. What I do is go to the very edge of the circle, and right before the orange AoE completes the circle, go to the outside, Kaya's shield, and then go back in once the explosion is done. You guys will lose a little bit of health, but at least you'll be alive. Most of you. Maybe. Now the last mechanic he will do is his triple swipe attack, as he shouts the following phrases: "Fools, all of you, you'll die here," and "I am invincible." He will swipe to the left or right, so if his sword is on his right hand, just stand on the right side. If it's on his left, stand on the left. Easy. That's pretty much it for Darken. Now Decurion. So to start off, purple balls will go around the room, one at 80% and then one at 60%, then some might disappear and come back every 20% of its health. Just avoid them. I mean, it doesn't really matter what percentage they come at, just avoid them, I guess. Now the important thing is, if you've done Shadow Sanguinary, is the retargeting mechanic. So, when Decurion strikes his spear on the ground 2 times, and you'll know that by the effect he does when he's pulling you in with its AoE inside, and you'll probably die, like I have many times, the person that is closest to him will get that debuff. Now players should not take 2 debuffs since he will basically kill you. So just alternate between debuffs and make sure that when he's doing this specific mechanic, you are near him, or not near him. I don't know, whatever you're doing. Other than that, the double AoE he does on a player that's too far away from the boss itself, or when a healer is casting Resurrection or doing res baiting. And if you don't know what res baiting is, it's basically when you cast a Resurrection on the ground, but you cancel it. So he'll do one of the AoEs that will stay on the ground. Okay, alrighty, and then simply just get out of it. You can just get out of it. And then when the second AoE explodes, listen to me, are you listening? Iframe out of it. That's how you survive. That's how you survive. Now on shield phase. Now just like Shadow Sanguinary, and I'm really hoping you guys know what I'm talking about. Oh god, these dungeons don't exist anymore. He will choose a player with the aggro and just put an eyeball over their head. Now that person needs to run as far and fast as possible. After a couple of seconds, the person will be stunned and Decurion will start jogging like an old man with intestinal problems towards the target. Now at this moment, players need to band together and beat the living shit out of the shield until it breaks. You'll know it breaks when his health starts going down normally in little chunks rather than not at all. Okay. So, if you've broken it, he will target everyone with an AoE, which you can iframe. However, if you fail to break the shield, he will stab the target and you don't want that. That's betrayal. And he will throw a target at the player that's the most farthest away, after which he will do the aforementioned AoE attack that I just mentioned with the iframing. So whether you break the shield or not, he will do the AoE regardless, so keep that in mind. Now, when Decurion says, I call upon the power of dark mana, pizza slices will show up around the arena. Simply look for the blue one, go to it, and you're safe. All you gotta do is stand on the blue, wait until everything explodes, make sure you're a little bit outside-ish, is that even a word? Who knows? And then don't touch the AoE in the middle that appears afterwards. You have about 2 seconds before it explodes, so just get out of there. And then he will repeat, and then just find the blue zone again, and that's it. Voila. However, when he says dark mana explosion, there will be AoEs around the arena. Simply go to the safe zones that are not red. I know, mind-blowing. And you'll be okay. Do it quickly though, or you will die. Now, before we get to the cage mechanic, which is the most important mechanic there is, he will summon mobs around the arena. Kill the mobs as fast as possible, or else they will turn into a crazy ugly monster that will make your life hell. Trust me on that one. It was painful. The cage mechanic will now begin about 10 seconds after the monster starts. So again, assuming you've done Shadow Sanguinary, then you know the red little sections in the cage mechanic will kill you. However, in here, that is not the case. I know, twist all around. What will happen is the cage will now show 5 different patterns, red slices and blank slices, and basically the blank slices are where you want to be safe. The red slices are where you're going to die. Once the 5th pattern is complete, immediately right afterwards, it will repeat the same 5 patterns that you just saw. However, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to memorize exactly where the blank slices were and go to it. So to explain a little further, if the pattern is red is here, safe is there, and red is there, and so on and so forth, on the 5th slice that happens, it will repeat immediately exactly how you saw it. So what you want to do is you want to go to the original safe spot. Then after purple slices show up for about a second to explode, you want to go to the next safe zone and then repeat, and yeah, it's just a memory game. As for sorcerers, you can stone skin this, so you don't even have to do this really. They're basically gods in this place. One thing to note that I found at least a little bit helpful for this specific mechanic is to kind of imagine a line, go to the safe spot, and then when the next pattern starts, kind of imagine that line going to the next safe zone, and then again and again and again, and then on a 5th pattern, once it's done, just repeat that line that you imagined in your head and do it in game. At least that's how it worked out for me. So for the sorcerers out there that are doing stone skin to do this and completely skip this, Jesus, my dear friend, says, use your cooldown glyphs. Listen to Jesus. Jesus knows best. And that's pretty much it for Decurion. After you kill him, you'll make your way through some mobs, fight Paramos, or skip him entirely. It's really up to you. However, if you decide to skip him, there will be a lot more mobs. So, if you do decide to fight Paramos, after you kill him, he will say one of the 3 quotes. These quotes are available at essentialmana.com. So he will say, "Thank you for this release. Beware the red lightning, and beware the mark of Lacan." Now that quote will basically tell you what the first pattern of mechanics Lacan will do next. Slightly redundant, however, and I'll explain why. When you reach Lacan at about 98%, he will say what he's going to do. So this will determine the pattern that he will do until 50%. So again, from essentialmana.com, I'll show you what the patterns are. So in this case, it'll be spread, gather, debuff, and repeat itself until 50%. So when he says, "I mark you," you'll want to spread apart and not be anywhere near each other. When he says, "I mark you" again, you'll want to gather, and the healer needs to cleanse everyone after the bomb icon appears over everyone's head. And the last one is debuff, which means the two players closest to the boss will get a debuff that you lose a little bit of health every second, and if you take the debuff twice, you die. So every time you wipe or every time you go back in, the mechanics can change. The quote may or may not be different every time. So keep that in mind. Whatever Paramo said will not make any difference, because if you wiped, it will completely change the mechanic all itself. So now at 50%, he will say another line, which will be a different order. In this video, he will say, "Kill all of you at once." So it'll be gather, spread, debuff. So when he says, "I mark you," you'll gather and cleanse. When he says it again, debuff will be the two closest players, and again, spread will be people that are spreading apart from each other, and that's safe. Now I know that's a lot to take in, but this graph should be helpful, and it's available at essentialmana.com. The link is in the description below. Now here's where it gets interesting. At 30%, he will say, "I will draw power from your very souls." He will then do a similar AoE as Democron Factory's last boss, Vernos, where he says, "Burn." You'll want to basically iframe outwards. However, I really didn't care, as it only hurts just a little bit for me, and right after you do so, you need to debuff him. If you don't debuff him, he'll have a shield, and you're basically losing DPS time. So you want to debuff him, you have 5 seconds to do so. So priests, you want to use your Plague of Exhaustion, or mystics, use the regression. By the way, after avoiding the ring, do not go underneath him, or you'll die most likely. It's about 100,000 damage per hit, so just wait until the healer has debuffed him and there is no puddle underneath him. So here is where things get a little bit more interesting. Now that you're at 30%, whatever mechanic you had at 50% will be reverse mechanics. That doesn't mean that they go in reverse order, they just have reverse mechanics. By that I mean this. So when you spread, you'll actually want to gather together. When you gather for bombs and you have to cleanse, you do not want to cleanse. If you cleanse, you'll kill everybody. For the debuff, instead of the two closest players, it'll be the two furthest players. That's pretty much easy, right? Okay, now that the most important mechanic is out of the way, let us continue two of the mechanics that you'll see. Now, if your tank or person with the aggro dies, or is too far away, or loses aggro, or he does Soul Realm at 30%, he may do his Star Shot. That's not actually what it's called, but I'm gonna call it like that. He'll say, "You can't defend against me," and shoot fireballs in a 5-way direction. Then again in another direction. So, in short, just don't die or lose aggro or go away, dearest tanks. Don't do it. Now his last mechanic is Begone. Now if you've done Ruinous Manor hard mode, or normal mode really, this will kind of come to a little bit of ease for you. Now Lacan will slash his sword once, it'll be orange, completely avoid that color. A lot of people find that to be the confusing part, and then spin like a ballerina. Now if the ballerina spin is purple, you'll want to stay away from him at least 8 meters or more. If it is red, you'll want to go inside him and hug him like you've lost your grandmother and finally see her again for the first time in 25 years. And a long reunited moment ignites a hole in your heart that leaves you forever hoping that this bliss will never escape. However, due to the fact of feeling alone and having abandonment issues for your entire life, and it is the moment, this very moment, that you finally feel safe and real for the first time in your entire existence. So, yeah, that's that. Oh, one more thing. It's not really a mechanic, but healers should know this. He will attack with his claw, which is separated into 3 different blades, and there are 3 different versions of this. So here we go. If he stops, faces a person, he will blink with a red light on his eyeball, basically. And when he does this, just iframe between the blades, or do what I do, and right when he stops, just run away from the boss, and you should be safe around 23 meters. You don't have to really iframe. The second move is that he's going to do his backswing turn, then face a random target, and it's usually the furthest player within 17 meters, and do the claw attack. Now if you're further than 17 meters, he'll do the second player that's the furthest, so it'll be anyone between 13 and 16 meters, whoever's furthest. And lastly is when he slams his shield, does his laser attack, backswing turns, and then does his random target attack. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about the dungeon itself, put it in the comments below. Anyways guys, I hope that helped. Make sure to subscribe and click that adorable fucking bell to know when I upload a brand new video. Much love, and as always, till next time, friends.